You've probably seen him in the background of videos, running the railway while others had their spotlights. It's about time this guy gets his own too. Ladies and gentlemen, the perfect 00 scale Percy. Or at least he is to me. And as you could expect, like every other model, this guy has a story to him too. And here's how his goes. So when it comes to Percy in HO or 00 scale, your options aren't great, honestly. In my opinion, Bachmann Percy just isn't a good runner, and while it achieves an overall look, it is such a headache to get actually accurate. Then of course you have Hornby, which is closer but uses a pocket rocket chassis, and also has its own accuracy issues. If you really want an accurate Percy, your best bet is 3D printing. And that's how this guy was brought to life by my good friend TrainStorm1225. I had been sitting on a Hornby W4 Peckett chassis for a while, and after even more back and forth about what Percy could be, I decided to give it to the hands of a professional, and commissioned TrainStorm to make a Percy that's similar to his models. While I like to make more unique variants of the engines, he excels greatly in actual accurate engines. And if I was gonna have one screen accurate-ish engine, it was gonna be Percy. So I sent the Peckett chassis his way, and very quickly he got to work. This Percy is made using Gauge 1 files made by Jamos Trains, that were shrunk down and squished to fit the W4 chassis. And one of my favorite features, which you may not have noticed yet, is his sound and cab area. Not only does he have little red curtains that are actually made of cloth, but a little bit of interior detailing, and this is also where the speaker for those sounds are. He can puff, has a brake sound, can talk, but sadly my DCC controller is currently broken, so I can only show off a limited amount of sounds. Thankfully, however, Percy runs well on DC as well, so don't worry, I'll show you what I can. Now, you may be wondering why Percy doesn't have 6s, and believe it or not, that is intentional and can be changed on the chance I ever want to. My initial idea for this Percy was just a smaller, accurate Percy to fit the W4 chassis, but that kinda ended up evolving into a early Percy, or one that was just purchased from Topham. So this is kinda made to represent before he could have the 6, but also a time he was still on Sodor. One of my favorite Percy scenes is when Topham buys him anyway, so if anything, I like to think it's a nod to that, even though Percy had his 6s in that scene. Don't worry about it. If I'm honest, I don't have much to say about Percy besides that. And again, I think he's perfect. TrainStorm blew every expectation I had out of the water with this model, and honestly made my dream come true of actually owning an accurate Percy model in 00 scale. I mean, that's kind of hard to do, if that wasn't highlighted already. But again, if I'm honest, that's really all I can say. I provided a chassis and the idea. He's the one who got hands-on and really made it, so I figure if anyone can explain that process, it's probably him. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me hand the mic off over to the man himself, and let's see how he brought this little green bug to life.
Hello everyone. Before how I get into how I built Percy, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Carter, also known as TrainStorm on YouTube and on Twitter, and I create models of Thomas and his friends in 00 scale. A few months ago, TrainBoy had messaged me about an interesting idea he had, a model of Percy, but on a Hornby Peckett chassis. After brainstorming out this idea, we decided that Lance would send me the chassis while I'd build the body. Once I had received the chassis, I tested my own Percy body on it, and I didn't like how it looked, and I wanted it shortened. Using the files made by Jamos Trains as a test, and after some experimenting, I resin printed the body that we were happy with. I first began to smoothen out the body and secure it to the chassis for easier handling and smoother running. Once that was all done, I went on to painting. It's always a good idea to prime your models beforehand, so for this I used Tamiya light gray with some standing in between coats for a smoother finish. For a more Season 2 styled Percy, which is what we decided to go for, I decided that Tamiya TS35 part green would look best with that darker shade. And after a quick spray, I was pretty happy with it. The running board was sprayed with PS2, and the rest of the model as well as the smaller detailings were hand painted with acrylic. Percy also features some cab detailing using a file made by @ScarLowyBoy and some curtains that were done using some red ribbon. Next up were some final details, including custom vinyl lining, a real color, and even some brass whistles by Ian's Train Things on Shapeways. If you're wondering why Percy doesn't feature his iconic number 6, that's because we had decided to go for a more pre-Sodor styled model after it had just been purchased by Topham. After a quick clear coat, Percy was complete. At least on the outside. Under the hood though, this guy is fully loaded with DCC and sound. This was achieved by using an ESU lock sound microdecoder, which allows for custom sounds to be programmed, all being from the show itself. Major thank you to @BGM Reviews, who programmed the chuff and idle sounds. It definitely saved me a lot of time. Percy's sounds include his iconic whistle, including the one from Magic Railroad, his original Season 1 theme, a voice line from the CGI series, and even another interesting remix. I did attempt lights, though due to the size of the model and limited space, it just wasn't possible at the time. Though hopefully someday we can have another attempt. After some test runs at the local club, Percy was ready. This was probably the most challenging yet most fun model I've made, and a big thank you to Lance for wanting to work with me and having me on. We've got another project in the works, so please stay tuned. That's all for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this short explanation. Take care, everyone.
Massive thank you again to TrainStorm for not only making this guy, but also coming on to explain what I couldn't. Be sure to not only subscribe, but follow him on his socials, all linked in the description. And now, with all of that being said, let's finally see this dude in action.
Yeah. Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.